on the Rubin Report.
About your lifelong struggle with hair gel.
It is a firm belief of mine that they take fetuses of babies, grind them up, and then he uses...
I'm a 960 SAT guy.
Clearly smarter than Gavin Newsom, not that that says much.
Paying their fair share of taxes.
I'll pass a law to stop them from moving around. That's what I'll do.
All right, people of the internet, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is February 24th, 2026. We are live streaming via some sort of electronic technical thing that nobody really understands on YouTube, on Rumble, on Locals. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell. And you know, before I do anything else, I should note, because I was going through a bunch of the comments yesterday, a lot of people really like the Bernie Sanders impression. And there's a cry for more Bernie Sanders impression. And I just don't think medically I can do it more than once a week. It creates a tremendous amount of pressure on the right side of my head that could blow out my brain if I, or even that. It's just, you can't do that. I don't know how he does it, how he lives in that perpetual state of borderline explosion. I'll see if I can maybe get it in somewhere today for about 3 seconds. We'll see. Anyway, I can't believe it's already February 24th. Like, we're basically rolling into March already. One day you're just dead. That's just how it works. You go, what happened? I'm dead. Who knows? We got a lot to do. We're going to pick up on the main story of yesterday, which is that this Gavin Newsom press tour, because they really, really want him to run for 28. And of course, the State of the Union is tonight. So they need this little moment right about now to just sort of point to, oh, don't worry, maybe it's not all our crazy jihadis. It could just be this guy. It's really, there's a big light being shined on Gavin right now. So we're going to really dive into a bit more of his little tour, and he's bouncing around the country. God help us all. We'll have some good stuff that Trump is doing as a preview to the State of the Union. We'll have some celebrity nonsense, a little more of the insanity out of New York, and then we will end with maybe there's something worth saving here. Let's find out. Anyway, before we dive into some of that, let's just start with Gavin Newsom. So this was the clip over the weekend that went bananas. He's like black people, sort of dumb, didn't do well on his SAT.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. You know, I'm a 960 SAT guy.
I'm not trying to impress you, I'm trying to impress upon you. First off, like, just that phrase, which, as Connor pointed out to me right before the show, he's been using in a lot of this press tour, like this pre-packaged phase. Everything about him, obviously, is inauthentic and fake. But then to sit, like, we went through this yesterday, so I won't belabor the point. But to sit with black people and think the way that you can show them you're one of them is that you're not particularly bright, you don't do well on tests, you can't really read, that is quite literally the most prime example of the soft bigotry of low expectations, which several people pointed out to me when I tweeted that out, that it's not soft bigotry anymore, right? Like, it's hardcore bigotry. He looks at a black person and thinks, I must act stupid or show them that I'm less than so they will think I'm like them. I don't know an instance where people on the right do this at all. Anyway, he put that up. He got major pushback on it, of course. And now he's claiming that his reading issues are because of his dyslexia, sort of like when Joe Biden, when he suddenly was stumbling and obviously had dementia, and all of us knew it, but they wouldn't let us say it. They were claiming that it was just a stutter that he had, although the stutter disappeared for 40 years. Anyway, Sean Hannity over on Fox, he tweeted this out. Gavin Newsom thinks a 960 SAT makes him like black Americans. Let that sink in. That's completely factual. That is absolutely 100% what Gavin Newsom said. We just played you the video. Well, then Gav tweeted this out, and there is an F-bomb, I'm warning you. I'll try to mumble over it. He said, you didn't give a shit about the President of the United States of America posting an ape video of President Obama or calling African nations shitholes, but you're going to call me racist for talking about my lifelong struggle with dyslexia. Spare me your fake effing outrage, Sean. So now he's a real tough guy. Now the video that he's referring to that Trump put up where the Obamas were apes was an entire Lion King. It was an AI Lion King video where they had all sorts of people that were playing different animals. So unless you're going to prescribe different animals to every single race, it's a little bit silly, but I get it. They want to be outraged about everything all the time. But okay, now he magically has dyslexia and he can't read. And it's interesting that he only brought that up when he was sitting across. I don't know who that guy was. It doesn't even matter. But like, put aside all black people that he's pandering to, the one guy, like if Gavin's sitting across from you and he's like, I'm like you, I'm an idiot. The guy might have been like, Gav, how about I'm not a moron, I know how to read. Anyway, it's interesting because now he's saying he can't really read. And we also pointed to a video yesterday where he said he can't really read his speeches on teleprompters. Of course, this made the rounds yesterday. Here he is telling Amy Parnes and Jonathan Allen on a podcast that he read their 260-page book in about an hour and a half.
You've written a hell of a book, and I don't say that lightly. I went through it in a quick hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And trust me, I don't read very fast, but it reads at an unbelievable pace. It's so well written. And of course, it's so familiar because I felt a little bit adjacent so much of the subject matter, but it's 18 chapters. It's an impressive piece of work, 263 or so pages.
This is rather remarkable, this guy. So when he's with black people, he can't read. But if white people write a book, the man can read a 260-page book in about an hour and a half or 2 hours. That is absolutely incredible. I was thinking, well, what do we do to really illustrate that it's not just Gavin, right? Like what we're showing here, this what they call soft bigotry of low expectations, which really is not so soft. This thing has permeated the entire Democratic Party, and it has done it for years. And this is what the danger of identity politics is. If you look at this group and think, I have to pander to them to get their votes, and this group, I have to pander to them, then ultimately you will end up saying constantly crazy, competing things to various groups, and you will be exposed. If you would like to see an example of such exposure, we put this together this morning.
No, she has to go.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now?
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce in my bag, swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I
yes.
just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them.
Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you, you know. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, you know, trying to act all there if you got 940. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech.
Funny, he can't read a speech, and yet he can read a book written by two white people in an hour and a half. The guy is incredible. As you guys know, we've been trying to send this printer here, this extra printer that we have here at the Rubin Report office. We've been trying to send this. We've had nobody has offered to just take this thing off my hands. You know what I mean? We're just doing a little spring cleaning around here, trying to clean this thing up. But of course, what is it that they are doing? Hillary, I carry hot sauce. I wish Lenny, I don't call him Charlemagne, Lenny over there would have been like, okay, Hillary, can I see your pocketbook right now? Let me see the pocketbook. I want to see that buffalo wing sauce in there. Like, what? And the Joe Biden, you ain't black? Like, imagine Donald Trump has never said anything nearly as racist as that. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. What a horrendously racist, pandering thing to say. Kathy Hochul, it's not that black people don't have computers, they don't even know what the word computer means. If you walk up to a black person at Best Buy and you say computer, like, what's gonna happen? They're gonna spontaneously combust? It's absolutely extraordinary. But here is Gavin, because he's on this press tour. Here he is cope-maxing. That's what the kids say these days. He's cope-maxing because he doesn't want you to know that he really grew up privileged, rich, given a lot of stuff. And this is a bit more from that Dana Bash interview.
13 plus businesses, eventually 20 businesses. We had about 1,000 employees at peak. Not saying that to impress you, but to impress upon you how entrepreneurialism has defined my life. But it was also defined in the relationship to the Getty family. And with that came this notion, well, it was handed to you. It was given to you. You inherited it, as opposed to the hard work and that grind that defined the lived experience.
Can it be both? You have the hard work and grind, and you had doors open.
Yeah, oh no, and that's...
I mean, it's not just the Gettys. Your grandfather and your father were both very connected in San Francisco.
I'm here because of all of them, and their shoulders, and 100%. And it was those two. So all those doors, all the privileges of those relationships, remarkable gifts.
Just adventures. You went on safaris. You took pictures from helicopters. You were
polar
partying
bears
with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that's we described that in there. It was extraordinary.
Safaris, pictures with Jack Nicholson. Do you think he was bringing those Stouffer's lasagnas over there? You see, he wants, because Democrats hate success, not their own success. They hate your success. They want you broken and dependent on them. So he has to run away from his privilege. By the way, there's nothing wrong with coming from a family, if they made their money in an honorable, legal way, from them giving you some money and helping you accomplish your dreams. Actually, that is the beauty of America. That is how you create generational wealth, and hopefully the generation before you works hard and then makes it perhaps a little bit easier for you. And by the way, there are most actually, we could probably run some numbers on this, most young children of families that are, like unendingly wealthy end up blowing that money or have all sorts of drug problems or suicides or anything else, because it's not easy to do. So I can't believe I'm going to do it. I'm going to give Dana Bash a little bit credit. She's kind of right. It's a little bit of both. You got to work hard, that's true, but it's also those doors opening. But he can't just be like, you know what, I grew up with an awful lot. He can't say it, because they will hate him for that. And that is why he is cope-maxing. This is from the underbelly of the internet. Let me read to you the definition of cope-maxing. It is internet slang for a term described as the act of excessively using coping mechanisms, rationalizations, or delusions to deal with a disappointing reality, failure, or negative situation. Now, ironically, in this situation, the disappointing reality is that he's successful now and he has to run from it. It often implies someone is in denial, trying too hard to convince themselves they are fine, or overcorrecting a bad situation. If he wasn't one of the leaders of a party that hated success and hated capitalism and everything else, he would be bragging about all of his success. But he can't, because Gav, even though you're worth, I don't know, what is he worth? Probably 100 mil or something? Getty family, Pelosi family, safaris with Jack Nicholson, et cetera, Stouffer's lasagna. He has to run from reality. Here, Dana Bash pushed a bit more about some of Gavin's upbringing.
Your great-grandfather was very good friends with Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And J. Edgar Hoover got a file on them.
Got a big file on them, and was at the house and following them, and impacted his career, impacted his future, and also impacted the family, and impacted so their way of living and seeing the world.
But you never knew any of this.
Didn't know any of this. I mean, there were vague hints of it, but it was never fully.
I have to say, there's kind of a Forrest Gump-esque notion to this, because it's whether it's Oppenheimer, you learn that your grandmother went to the Soviet Union. I mean, they were communists.
She was Trigger Addis, an actress.
Oh, his grandmother was a communist. He had no idea. No idea to the connection of Oppenheimer. No idea that everybody was rich. Why was he making those Stofers in the microwave? Nobody seems to know. He has no recollection of anything because he has to run from the reality. He has to cope max so that the base doesn't destroy him, even though we just checked. He's worth somewhere between 40 and 100 mil. I'm going to guess it's probably more than 100 mil. He also kept his winery Plumpjack open during COVID when he closed all the other wineries in Sonoma. Here's just one more with Dana Bash. She actually caught him off guard, asking if he could take off his mask.
I'm so interested in you saying that, you had this mask and that you were playing a role.
Yeah,
you are still I'm just to sort of push back on that. You are still a politician. You're the governor of California.
Yeah.
You have ambitions for the future. Can you be totally mask off and not playing a role?
Well, I talk about, there's some scenes in there with an amazing woman, Mimi Silbert Delancey.
All right, so they're referencing, I don't want to even play too much of that, they're referencing that in his memoir, that he obviously didn't write, but in his memoir, he talks about wearing a mask, creating a mask so that he could carefully craft his political persona. The man is wearing a mask all the time. You know who doesn't wear a mask? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Do you think Donald Trump privately is wildly different than the Donald Trump that you get, the Donald Trump that will be speaking at the State of the Union tonight, or the Donald Trump that gives the press conferences, or the Donald Trump that tweets, or any of those things? Those are all obviously Donald Trump. That's the thing that became his sort of center of gravity that attracted everybody to him, because everybody else was so fake. So it is rather extraordinary right now that the Democrats have put themselves in this situation where the party has become so radical that it's mostly run by communist, socialist, Islamists. But they can't really tell you that just yet. So they're really pushing him because even though he's a leftist maniac and has destroyed California, and before, he destroyed San Francisco as mayor, now destroyed Cali as governor, he doesn't come off as an Islamist yet. He's just a rich, cunty, communist, crap-faced, cacophonous crocodile. He went to South Carolina, though. They let him in over there because he's obviously running for president, and he tweeted this out. South Carolina, it's always great to be back. A fired-up room on a Monday morning in Nancy Mace's own backyard says everything about where the country is headed in 2026. We're taking back the White House. Now, leave the image up there. That is just rather incredible. He look at that. He packed that conference room. There could be 75 people in there, and that is proof that they are going to take back the White House. Here he is, Mr. Authenticity himself, as he jogged into the room.
With our On the Road series. So, as Jay already told you guys, this is the governor's first stop here in South Carolina. This is his second stop.
He's so authentic and he's so real and he's so, I just mentioned and I gave you the definition of cope maxing. You might say that he's jester gooning right there. We're really going deep into the belly of the internet right now. What is jester gooning, you might ask? This is from Google. The definition of jester gooning, it refers to the act of becoming intensely, almost hypnotically consumed by playing the jester or fool to gain attention. I would also say he's retard maxing there. Well, no. I want to back up. He's not retard maxing. If you are someone in South Carolina and you show up at a conference room to listen to that man speak, you're retard maxing. I don't think I have to give you the definition on it. I think it's fairly obvious. Here he is once again, because the other thing, what do they have to do? They lie about everything, and they also have to make you fearful about everything. Here he is explaining that there will never be any more elections unless the Dems win the midterms.
Look, I love my part, Jamie, I love our party. But we're so, we kind of get a little consumed with winning arguments while they're consolidating power.
Yes.
We just, these guys are ruthless. They're ruthless. There will not be a fair and free election in the United States of America as we know it unless we win back the House of Representatives this November.
It's so profoundly evil. I just don't even know what to say about it. First off, they've done this a million times, right? Like the Republicans are going to cancel elections. Republicans are literally trying to just make sure people have ID to get elections. So what he's saying is that if we have people with IDs voting in elections, that is going to be a problem. The other part that we're making arguments. What arguments? What arguments? Please tell me the arguments. I would love to have those arguments. that the Democrats are winning. They're always winning arguments. What? No, they're calling us all racist. They're destroying cities. They're burning things down. They're pandering. They are ignoring the Constitution. That's the type of stuff that they're doing. But okay, so all of this, you might be watching today going, Dave, why are you bludgeoning me? It's a Tuesday. Why do I got to be bludgeoned with Gavin Newsom over and over? Because the point here is, to the backdrop of tonight, the State of the Union, this man might be president, and he has destroyed California. Nick Shirley, you know Nick Shirley, young kid, he's got one of these, and he's a better journalist than anyone over at CNN or MSNBC or the rest of them. He's the one that exposed the ridiculous Somali daycare fraud scheme. He went to Los Angeles over the last couple of days. He's been in Los Angeles just walking around, seeing what's going on in the homeless, with the homeless situation over there. Take a look at this.
Welfare check. Hey, y'all all right up in there?
It's my son, it's fine.
Oh, it's your son?
Well, how old's your son? 12 years old. He's living here on the streets. What do you like to do for fun?
Hey, you in school?
Soon.
Soon. This 12-year-old here on the streets with his mom, we're going to pay for their hotel for the next 3 days. And then hopefully from there, I'm going to take down our contact info. We're going to make sure that this kid gets into school. This is what's going on here in the streets. And a 12-year-old has to live here. So this is what's going on. We're going to make sure this kid's not in the same situation.
So that is the real Gavin Newsom. That is the fruits of Gavin Newsom's labor. That is the crap that I used to see every day in Los Angeles. What's going on there? Why is there a man with a hammer seemingly about to attack people and a 12-year-old living in a tent and all the rest of it who's not, and he's not going to school or anything? Gavin Newsom is a wrecking ball of functioning society. And if you want more evidence of that, listen to this from Eric Daughtry. Governor Gavin Newsom just pardoned an illegal alien who is convicted for attempted murder and assault with a firearm. Thanks to Gavin Newsom's pardon, this alien may now reopen immigration proceedings rather than be removed from the U.S. and will be able to remain in California communities. DHS said, "You're sick and depraved, Gavin Newsom. This guy needs to lose 2028 in a landslide." Obviously, that's Eric editorializing there. But look at that guy. Attempted murder. No, it's okay. Just get back out there. Why don't you hang out with the guy with the hammer and the 12-year-old who doesn't go to school? And we'll see what else we can do. These people are breaking everything. However, I am going to, in segment 2 now, I'm going to shift and show you how you do it right, how you actually care about American citizens, and how you put a little, let's say, balance in the force. But first, let's talk about balance of nature. It can be tough to stick with New Year's resolutions, which is why my Balance of Nature's Whole Health System supplements are one of the easiest habits to start and stick with. The Whole Health System is designed to fit seamlessly into everyday life. You can mix 2 scoops of the fiber and spice blend into water or a drink for a warm, aromatic boost. You can also open the fruit capsules and blend them into a smoothie or sprinkle the veggie powder over savory meals. It's simple, flexible, and easy to make part of a daily routine. What makes Balance of Nature stand out is what's inside. The Whole Health System includes 47 ingredients made from 100% whole fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers, things like flaxseed, cinnamon, turmeric, mango, pineapple, wild blueberries, and more. This new year is the perfect time to start a routine you'll actually enjoy and can keep going all year long. Right now, you can lock in 50% off an entire year when you subscribe to the Whole Health System as a preferred customer. Just go to balanceofnature.com to get started. Balance of nature, balance of the force. Let's balance it out a little bit. So we've been showing you craziness, right? We've been showing you a political leader who lies, who destroys the things that he touches, who has wrecked California and everything else. Now let's shift to Donald Trump because he was at the White House yesterday and he invited several of the family members of, it's usually young women, who have been killed by illegal immigrants. So first I want to start with a video. This is a mother. Her name is Laura Wilkerson. Her son, Joshua Wilkerson. So it's usually young women that we see these stories about, but in this case it was a son, a boy, Joshua Wilkerson, who was killed by an illegal. Here she is talking about Trump and the entire situation.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Laura Wilkerson. And I want to thank everybody for their help in gathering us here, the American Border Story and the White House and all of your helpers. I thank you for that. I met a man about 11 years ago who was running for office, and he sat with us a couple of days, and he watched as the tears rolled down my face as I told him the story of how our youngest son Joshua was brutally beaten, tortured, strangled to death, and his body set on fire. The man next to me was President Trump. He looked me straight in the eye and he said, "I will never forget the story of your sweet son, and I will never give up fighting for the American family."
Have you ever heard a Democrat saying the name Joshua Wilkerson, a boy who was beaten, tortured, strangled, and set on fire by an illegal immigrant? You ever hear one Democrat say his name? Did that story even make national news? I didn't even know about that story until yesterday. And it's one of many. So let's continue. Laken Riley, a name that fortunately you probably do know because the online people helped expose what happened to her. It was largely ignored by the mainstream media. Here's her mother, Allison Phillips, talking about Trump and some of what he is trying to do.
Well, this is unexpected, but I think that a lot of people feel like that President Trump is maybe different than the version that I've gotten to know. And I just can't thank you enough. You have said from the beginning, literally the day after this happened, that you would not forget about Laken. You weren't president at that time, and you have not forgotten.
You know, it's interesting. I've been talking about how inauthentic Gavin Newsom is, and he talks about how he wears a mask and everything else. And there's Laken Riley's mother saying that Donald Trump, behind the scenes, is exactly who he is in front, and that is obvious. So what were they doing at the White House? Well, actually, Donald Trump proclaimed February 22nd as National Angel Family Day. This is in honor of the families who have lost loved ones to illegals. Go.
Very good. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, you ready, Emma? We're going to sign this, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Do you think, is Donald Trump doing that for publicity? Or do you think he actually cares and is trying to do something so we won't have more Joshua Wilkersons or Laken Rileys? It's obvious what the answer is. Why did he run 10 years ago? It's over 10 years ago now, it's crazy, on closing the border. Why has he made such a big deal out of the illegal crime? These are real people. These are real Americans who have lost mothers and daughters and sons and brothers and all of these things, and the Democrats do not care about them. I don't mean that hyperbolically. I don't mean it sarcastically. I don't mean it in an overtop way. No Democrat talks about them ever. And it's not only that, they create the conditions on the ground through sanctuary cities and open borders and all of the programs they create that don't allow people to escape poverty and then encourage violence and encourage criminality. And then, by the way, they say you can go into Best Buy and steal $799 worth of stuff, but we'll get you if you steal the $800. They create all of the conditions so that mayhem continues. So let's connect this to a little bit of something we talked about yesterday, which is what's going on down in Mexico, because Mexico for a long time has been sort of loosely held together by the Mexican government, kind of making deals with cartels in different regions. And for the most part over the last couple of years, it's been pretty safe. I've been down there many, many times, including, as I mentioned yesterday, to the Guadalajara airport several times, which is basically where a lot of the attacks were yesterday. That's the airport I fly into when we're going to the distillery that we're doing Copal at. And I've been to the Puerto Vallarta airport and all of these places that are tourist. I mean, there's tons and tons of tourists there. So Mexico has been held together to some extent. But over the last couple of days, this cartel leader was taken out, likely with some intelligence, at least from the Americans, which is also consistent with everything Trump's been saying, which is we're not going to put up with these Mexican cartels shipping fentanyl through our border. But here is Dan Bongino, who, thank God, Dan Bongino is back, and he's doing his show. Here he is on Fox, talking about how the weapons and the technology that these cartels now have is completely different than ever before. And we better watch out, because what's happening in Mexico is probably just a warning to us right here.
I addressed this on the show earlier today. This is really important people understand this. Listen, cartels have always engaged in brutal extreme violence. We get that. That's not new. However, what is new with CJNG, Sinaloa, and others is the technology and the comms equipment, without giving away too many details. This was my entire life over the last year, are totally different, Laura. They're not just force multipliers. I mean, you go from the ability to kill hundreds to the ability to kill thousands and dominate entire neighborhoods, which is simple surveillance equipment and comms that are not easy to get into.
Okay, Dan Bongino is on the short list of sane people that I know in this space, and he does not sugarcoat and he doesn't exaggerate. What he is telling you is they have new type of weapons and they can commit mass terrorist attacks fairly easily. We showed you yesterday, Connor, maybe you can grab it, or one of you guys can grab it, some of the images of what these cartel guys look like. They basically have their own armies. You know, you think of cartel guys like it's going to be a bunch of guys in bandanas running around with a gun, shooting, yippee-dee, you know, it's like Three Amigos. It is not like that. These guys are a paramilitary force. Do we have one of the images? I think we have it. Like, look at these guys. That's not the Mexican army. These are the cartel guys. Where are they getting these weapons? Where are they getting these trucks and everything else? That is a full army fighting force that is now in opposition to the Mexican government. Now, the Mexican government is run right now by a woman who won a year or two ago by the name of Claudia Sheinbaum. She's the president of Mexico. And this video is making the rounds right now. This is from last year when she was talking about why she doesn't want to use force against the cartels.
Going back to the war on drugs is not an option. It's not an option. First, because it's outside the framework of the law. All those on the right who go on and on about the rule of law and defend the war on drugs. The war on drugs is outside the law because, as I've said on several occasions, it's basically a license to kill without any trial. And in Mexico, hardly anyone, or very few people, agree with that.
All right, so this is her a year ago basically saying we're not going to do anything. I mean, that's what she's saying. We're not going to do anything about the cartels. The war on drugs, it's the cartel guys that are sending, it's fentanyl, but it's cocaine and all the other stuff, mostly through our southern border. Now, fortunately, because we've closed our southern border, we've shut it down. But her policy basically was, we are not going to do anything about these guys anymore. Trump clearly was not on board that. And what happens? Well, one of the phrases that I've been saying, and I, of course, always credit it to my friend Gad Saad, one of the great ways of looking at the world right now is through the lens of suicidal empathy. It's not how you should or I should, but it's how a huge portion of people do. We will have empathy to the point that we will destroy our societies. We will not protect our children. We will not protect our women because we are so empathetic to the bad guys, which is why the Democrats never say anything about those victims. It's why they don't care about Laken Riley or Joshua Wilkerson, but they're very, very concerned when we grab a gang member from El Salvador and send him back to his country. Now, interestingly, 63, we just checked this, 63 political figures and candidates were assassinated in Mexico before the 2024 general election. So they have a massive political violence situation, and you currently have a president who is saying, in essence, we're not going to do anything about it. But this was quite interesting. This is Mexican Senator, her name is Lily Tellez, on Fox, talking about how they would love some help from the U.S.
The help from the United States to fight the cartels in Mexico is absolutely welcome, and that is how the majority of Mexicans feel. The only ones who don't like that President Trump is sending help and trying to support Mexicans against the cartels are the narco politicians. That includes President Sheinbaum.
All right. Look, again, as I always say, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know everything about the Mexican political system and the Mexican cartel situation and everything else. I promise you I will learn more and we will do more shows about it. But she's basically there saying, hey, the lady that we've got in charge, she ain't going to do anything about this. And maybe we need Donald Trump to help us. Now, this is where America is always put into these odd situations. If we don't do anything in the world seems to go to crap. Then we do things, and sometimes it works out and it's good, and often it doesn't work out. So I don't know what exactly we should be doing in Mexico right now. This is to the backdrop of it sounds like we're about to do something in Iran. Obviously, we got Maduro out of Venezuela. Their administration is talking about Cuba. I mean, we clearly are looking at the world in a whole new way right now. But if you just think about it this way, to our north, we have Canada, which basically has become it's not a failed state, but it is you could call it almost a satellite of China at this point, and it's largely been taken over by the Islamists and everything else, which is why Trump wants Greenland, right? Because you want to keep Russia away, and if Canada is useless, then Greenland is the buffer from basically Russia to us, because Canada's not going to do anything, right? Remember, what was it, what's his name, Carney was like, oh, well, we send some boats to patrol around Greenland, like that's going to scare the Russians. So that's on our northern border, and on our southern border right now, there's seemingly a president, not seemingly, there is a president of Mexico who basically her policy is she's not going to do anything about the cartels. This seems, as the kids say, problematic. I thought this was funny from Harrison Crank on X. While Mexico is weak, Trump should take the Baja California and rename it to West Florida. Yeah, that would be pretty good. I'm pretty sure that's where Cabo and some of the other places are. That would be nice. They've got some nice not all you can eat. What do they call them? All-inclusive, all-you-can-eat resorts. Well, they are all-you-can-eat, all-inclusive resorts over there. All right, so what leads to all of this? Well, of course, politics is downstream from culture, and if you lose the culture, you end up importing endless, horrific ideas. We'll have more on that in just a second, but first, home title lock. American homeowners, this is important. There's a type of real estate fraud called title theft, and your home equity is the target. With a forged signature, someone can transfer ownership of your property out of your name. If that happens, you could be left dealing with a financial and emotional nightmare. That's where Home Title Lock comes in. You can find out today if you're already a victim and take steps to protect yourself. When you use promo code Rubin, you'll get a free title history report plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't let someone steal your equity. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code Rubin or click the link below. Trigger warning, I'm about to show you. No, we're not. We do have one clip of the View today. But this isn't The View. This isn't The View, don't worry. This is Robert De Niro, who's the male equivalent of View, who, it's just so crazy with this guy. He played so many cool, tough guys. You're right, like Godfather 2, Goodfellas. Do we have to do the laundry list? Casino. He played so many tough guys who didn't take shit and knew what they were about and fought for the right things. And even though sometimes they were bad dudes, right? But there was a code of conduct that they adhered to. That's why people love mafia movies. It's why you love Tony Soprano, even though he's doing horrible things. He has a code of conduct and he believes in family. Okay. Anyway, Robert De Niro. He's going on shows. He was on Nicole Wallace's podcast over there. She's an MSNBC person, not particularly talented or bright, but she's also got a podcast. Here they are crying together.
Yeah. I mean, you're always about lifting up everybody around you,
Yeah,
everybody.
of course.
Why is that?
You have to. You have to lift people up.
Why?
You have to bring them together. Period. You can't divide people. You can't win that way. It's a no-win situation. And look what we have. Look who we have there. It's almost like a destiny to have this thing there, attempting to destroy this country.
You know, guys, I don't have any Oscars. I've never been invited to the Golden Globes. I did take acting class. I think I told you in 2006 for a few weeks. It was horrible. But all of that being said, I think Robert De Niro was right We can't divide people. That's why I just don't understand this.
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
Yeah. Okay. Crocodile tears. I saw this morning, and I thought it sort of perfectly illustrates. There was a great comedian. He's no longer with us. He actually commits suicide, which is quite sad. But he was a great comedian in the sort of mid '80s into early '90s. You probably don't know of him actually. His name was Richard Jenny. The one thing that you might know him from outside of stand-up was he was Jim Carrey's friend in the movie The Mask. That's one of the only other acting things that he did. I think he did a show about a platypus, maybe an animal. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He was a really great stand-up comic. And I thought this clip sort of perfectly illustrates what's happening with the left. And this is from literally probably 35 years ago.
I'm going over here to the left side to be with all these loony, lefty, liberal people. And there's the crew. A bunch of bong-smoking, America-bashing, flag-burning, yoga-posing, incense-burning, dolphin-saving, salmon-eating hypocrites. There they are. There's your crew. These are the sensitive liberal people who are always yelling about everybody's freedom of speech and expression. Unless you happen to say something that pisses them off. Then they can't wait to tie your ass to the back bumper of a Toyota hybrid and drag it to the Berkeley campus.
It's a great special. Try to find the name of Richard Jenny's HBO special. The whole thing is it's really fantastic. And he was, he was an all-time great that never got enough credit. But of course, that's it. We all know that, right? Like they're tolerant and decent. What do I always talk about? The very thin veneer. They pretend that they're all of these things, but the second you scratch a progressive, you get a really nasty authoritarian. Here's a. I have to throw to one more clip.
He's gone in 3 years, and why don't people?
Well, he will never leave. We have to make him leave. He jokes now about nationalizing the elections.
Mm-hmm.
He's not joking. We've seen enough already.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about it, but he means it.
So you don't think he leaves in 3
He
years?
ain't leaving. No way. Well, we used to joke the first time they'd get him in the moving van and he'd be sitting in the back of the moving van. They'd put him in whatever.
Like a fake desk
and put
in
him
there.
in his desk, not leaving the White House desk. No, but he won't. He won't leave. Let's not kid ourselves. He will not leave. It's up to us to get rid of him.
He's trying to bring people together. F Trump. We have to get rid of him. You guys ran a couple sham impeachments. He did get shot at. You tried to close all his businesses in New York. You tried to kick him off the ballots in several states. Like, we've been through all of this. By the way, the name of the Richard Jenny special. So that Richard Jenny special, he had a couple HBO ones. The one that I just showed you there, it was called A Big Steaming Pile of Me. It's from 2005, actually. And it's really great. He was sort of, I would say he was kind of Bill Maher. He was like a cross between George, sorry. He was a cross between, I was going to say Richard Pryor, I was combining Richard Pryor and George Carlin. He was a cross between Bill Maher and George Carlin, and he was really great, so you should check that out. And he died at 49, which is just crazy. But all right, let's continue, because what happens when we elect all of these people that do these terrible things, or that seem to never aim at the bad guys and always aim at the good guys, sort of like what's happening in Mexico right now, or what has happened in many of our blue cities? Well, we need only look at New York right now, because as you know, they're in the midst of this massive snowstorm, which apparently this blizzard wasn't quite as bad as everyone thought. It sounds like 14, 16 inches, which is still a lot, but okay, for the most part, it wasn't as bad as what people thought. As you know, Zohran, a man who wants to keep New York a sanctuary city, who wants to make sure illegals can vote, who wants to confiscate property from landlords, who wants free buses and free grocery stores and everything else. He also wants you to have ID if you want to volunteer to shovel snow.
Your city's urgently hiring emergency snow shovelers to help remove snow and ice from public areas, offering people $30 an hour. House Republicans are criticizing you for requiring workers to bring multiple forms of identification to sign up for that job. They tweeted, quote, "Let's get this straight. In Zohran Mamdani's socialist utopia, it takes 2 forms of ID to shovel snow, but no ID to vote. Make it make sense, unquote. What's your response to that, sir?
Well, here in New York City, we follow the law, and it's federal law to require certain forms of identification in order for someone to actually be paid for this kind of a job. And so that's what we're asking for, 2 forms of identification. It's a long-standing city program. It's a long-standing city policy.
He is a jihadist in sheep's clothes, guys, if you don't get it. So in New York City, they follow the law. Well, we've read the Supremacy Clause to you many times. Sanctuary cities, by their very definition, are illegal. Making sure that illegals can vote and taking from your tax-paying citizens and giving to people who aren't even supposed to be here, those are all forms of illegal behavior. So you know that you don't care about the law. You only care about the law when it works in your favor, and then you'll throw it back in everyone else's face. I mean, that he can even sit there. And by the way, Jake, thank you for asking the question, but you didn't even need to read the Republicans' comment about it. You could have said, Zohran, this is pretty hypocritical, right? You could pretend that you're allowed to think yourself, Jake. You're allowed to do that. Anyway, here is Katy over on the televised mental institution now known as MSNOW, asking Mamdani about the 19 people who froze to death during the last blizzard.
Differently with the unhoused population this time around, because there was some criticism as to what happened to a number of people during the last storm and the cold snap. 19 outdoor deaths, 19. That's a really high number. There were 7 indoor deaths as well, potentially linked to bad heating or no heating at all. Did you change your strategy, and are you confident that everybody who was out in the streets got inside and survived?
So as of now, we have no deaths reported from this blizzard from being outside or in a public area. And we have also been looking to utilize every single method of outreach that we have. A number of those New Yorkers who lost their lives, the preliminary indications came that it was from an overdose-related death. And so we worked with our overdose prevention centers to keep them open, not just during the weekday hours that they would typically have, but over the course of the weekend nights.
So they were overdoses. Well, you might want to look into where those people are getting drugs and where those drugs are coming from originally and why are so many people in New York City on drugs and everything else. But you don't really want that. You just want more government programs. Now, I want to show you this. This is really a perfect example of, I think I heard it first from Michael Malice a couple of years ago, but things get bad slowly and then quickly. And it seems to me New York City is just on the verge of where it's going to start going very quickly, because we've seen more and more of the general state of the city get worse. But that's been happening for a while. I think it's about to get escalated pretty significantly. We'll see if I'm right about that. But here yesterday are a bunch of New York City police officers in the midst of this blizzard, and watch how they're being treated by citizens, non-citizens, who knows? I am telling you guys, remember that video. We know that tons and tons, quite literally thousands of New York City police officers have fled New York. Many of them came down to Florida to get bonuses, but just could not take it anymore. We also know that tons of them have retired early because they didn't want to be part of this administration. But those 2 that you see there, those 2 officers, think about, I don't know them. I'd like to know more about them, but think about the position they've been put in. They decided to put on the blue and try to protect the people of New York City. They're being pelted with snow. You could get hit with a shard of ice and lose an eye or get cut or get stitches or get freaking brain damage. You don't know. You have tons of people just throwing things at them. At what point would it be fully, and they can't do anything. See, here's the issue. They've created the conditions around policing that these guys are absolutely afraid to do anything, because if they do anything, in one case, he did push somebody back. If you were to pull out your weapon, you're being attacked. They are being attacked. What would you do? Let's say you weren't a police officer. Let's just say you were an average citizen walking through the park that day, and then a mob of lunatics starts throwing ice and snowballs or God knows what. You don't know what's in there. It could be a rock in there or whatever at you and your family. What is your duty at that point? Well, it's to protect yourself. It's to protect your family, right? The fact that they do nothing, they walk away in shame. Well, that's exactly what he wants. He wants, I'm telling you this is right, he wants the New York City Police Department to be destroyed so he can usher in his Sharia-compliant policing. That is it. They want to purge the city of all of the functional people, not only in the police department, but all of the people who would dare stand up to his authoritarian, communist, jihadist government. That's what they are trying to do. There's plenty, that video right there, a lot of those people aren't even wearing masks. It's ironic. These people wear masks half the time now when they're at their little Hamas rallies, but here it's freezing cold, they're not wearing masks. Someone do some research, find out who those people are. Are you allowed to just throw a piece of ice in a police officer's face? But that's the imagery that they want out. That's what they want out, and that they want out there. And by the way, not to make a big deal about it, but yesterday we mentioned that Zohran did give a speech at this mosque, and right after he spoke, the imam came up in Arabic and said that he wants to get the killing of the infidels by your sword, Allah. So is anyone paying attention to any of this? Much of the lunacy from the left comes directly from a man from the Weather Underground, a domestic terrorist, who Barack Obama apparently gained a lot of confidence from, by the name of Bill Ayers, who wrote Rules for Radicals. Well, here he is on a podcast explaining that he's very excited about Mamdani because they want to overthrow capitalism.
So I woke up this morning and I said, gosh, I can't wait to see David and Daniel. I can't wait to see if today we can overthrow capitalism. I think we are, and we have to name that we have a fascist government.
Yeah.
That it's not, we shouldn't tiptoe around that. It's got all the earmarks of fascism. I find the election of Mamdani to be very hopeful. I find the Squad and the Progressive Caucus to be hopeful. Are they the answer? They're not the answer. But are they important? They are.
Makes you wonder what he thinks the answer is. If these radicals are not radical enough, well, this is a man who was arrested for domestic terrorism, but they're not enough. That's not enough. So he's very excited by seeing cities burned by endless violence, and he wants to stop the fascists. Ironically, they're the fascists. They never know that. They are the ones that have more in common with the fascists and the Nazis than any of the Republicans or anything else. But it's rather extraordinary how they're just out there saying it now. They are out there full on saying it. Now, what's happening on the other side of the aisle? Well, there are good things happening. Some of them are happening at the Olympics. As you know, we beat Canada in a sport that we don't particularly care about, and I did go into the comments yesterday and I had some Canadians pissed. I'm just telling you, it's not in our top 10. We don't care much about hockey. There's other things we care about. We're trying to do a lot down here. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, one of the guys who's been getting some pushback on his celebration from these crazy lefties, because there's nothing that makes them more upset than seeing an American happy, is that FBI Director Kash Patel went into the locker room with Team USA and was celebrating after their gold medal win. He's pumped, he's excited, he's an American, it's awesome. We haven't won gold in hockey since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. Everything about it is great. Now, you might say, okay, maybe he shouldn't be drinking a beer and screaming, but I just don't care about that right now. Like, we are allowed to have brief moments of celebrating our great country, especially in our 250th year. But now, trigger warning, it is the ladies of The View, because they're very upset that Kash Patel was happy. I would say, watch this and just think about it if it was the other version. If it was a Biden appointee who, after America won something, was back there celebrating them, they would be... you get it. Go.
I don't even know what Kash Patel was doing there. I mean, he was chugging beer. Honey, you're not playing. You're not, and he's behaving like he's like a member of Animal House on that show.
Beyond the money, it's the optics for me, because I'm a little old school, but I like when the law enforcement and directors of FBI were like serious and like borderline boring. Like, I don't want to see them. I want to know they're hard at work, because there's so much going on. Right. Today, we wake up hearing about the head of a Mexican cartel being killed, and we know that there was a shooting. And
I'm going to look at this from a positive spin on it. I'm going to put a positive spin on it. Maybe the folks in the FBI say, yeah, Cash, go do that. So they don't have to deal with him because they know he doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, he's the director, bitch. So I don't know what you are talking about right there. I guess she couldn't get there because of the snowstorm. So just taking bong hits at home and doing her little TV show over there. Look, of course, we know they would take the complete reverse situation if it was a Democrat, but we are allowed to celebrate. Look, I actually do slightly get the thing, like, do you want to see the FBI director like that kind of over the top? Maybe there's a little something there, but we are allowed to celebrate. We're allowed to enjoy this country. And Kash Patel put this up. For the very concerned media, yes, I love America and was extremely humbled when my friends, the newly minted gold medal winners of Team USA, invited me into the locker room to celebrate this historic moment with the boys. Greatest country on earth and greatest sport on earth. I thought that was interesting. So apparently he's a big hockey guy. Did not know that. My buddy Jimmy Fallon over on Fox, I thought this kind of nails the sort of moment we are in, that it was just, if you can't wrap yourself around us beating Canada at hockey at the Olympics, like, come on, man, as that old guy used to say.
And I bring up drinks because that win really was a spiritual caffeine for our country. Yesterday was one of maybe 3 feel-good moments on Twitter in your life, where 99% of the posts were positive. And the country kind of had its mojo back. There were a lot of jokes. There were a lot of memes. The only word of caution on this pop cultural lean-in, there's not going to be a Miracle on Ice remake because they're already doing one with Tom Homan. Good night, everybody!
Yeah. We're allowed to celebrate some things. We really are. So now let's connect the hockey situation to what is going to happen tonight, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern. Donald Trump is going to give the State of the Union address. And remember, 250th year of America. We're in the middle of the Olympics. We're potentially on the verge of a war with Iran. There's the stuff going on with Mexico. There's the immigration stuff. There's a lot on his plate right now. But he has given some spectacular State of the Unions, and I think this in some sense could be his most important. I know it's everyone, oh, this is the most important election, this is the most important speech, but this might be the key one because, as I keep pointing out, if the Republicans lose the midterms, he's basically done. So one of the things that is interesting about this is that the women's U.S. hockey team was invited to attend the State of the Union, but they have decided not to. Here's Bill O'Reilly on that.
It was interesting that the women's hockey team refused to go to the State of the Union. They did it politely. They weren't like the Golden State Warriors, but I was taken aback by that. And I'm still searching around. They go, well, we have other commitments. What commitments? What are you doing?
Well, some of them have another game.
You don't have anything.
No.
Yeah, what are you having, a party? Where are you going? Yeah, they said they issued a statement going where the team's not showing up. There's a different culture between a men's hockey team and a women's hockey team. And then it extends all the way back to the women's soccer team, which was anti-American all day long. And that's still in there. That's my read on it.
Yeah, that's interesting because to connect this to the women's hockey team, you remember Megan Rapinoe and the rest of them that were, kneeling for the anthem and all the rest of it. And there is a fundamental, this is something that Jordan Peterson and others have talked about for years. There is a fundamental difference in the way men and women's brains operate and things that we generally care about and where our fear centers are and all of those things. And there is a version of TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, that seems to affect women more. But putting aside all of that, like if you were on the women's hockey team, you are representing the United States of America. The beauty of the United States of America is you don't have to love the president, but you should still be honoring the country. So the idea that you would turn down an invite to the State of the Union is completely absurd. However, it's only slightly less absurd than the fact that there are several Democrats in Congress and the Senate who will not be there either. Here's this from Fox. Here are the Dems that are ditching the State of the Union. We've got Ed Markey from Massachusetts, Jeff Merkley, Oregon, Chris Murphy, Connecticut, Tina Smith, Minnesota, Chris Van Hollen, Maryland. He'll probably be with Abrego Garcia over in El Salvador, Yasmin Ansari, Arizona, Becca Ballant from Vermont, Greg Caesar, Texas, Veronica Escobar, Texas, Pramila Jayapal, she's a real looker, from Washington, Delia Ramirez from Illinois, Bonnie Watson Coleman from Jersey, Eric Swalwell, who banged a Chinese spy from California, Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, Dan Goldman from New York, and Ron Wyden from Oregon. Now, again, put aside what your feelings are on Donald Trump. he is the duly elected president of the United States, that these people will just not sit there. You don't have to clap once. You don't have to get up once. You can sneak. You could do what they did. Remember a couple of years ago when the Congressional Black Caucus sat there like this, and Trump was like, we've got lowest all-time Black and Latino unemployment. And they okay, you could do that, but instead they're just not going to show up because they're a bunch of little bitches. That's what they are. So which way, Western man, which way are we going to go? It is becoming more and more obvious, right? There is a side that is basically pro-America, that is basically pro-freedom, that's a little messy and has some problems. And there is a side that wants to burn the whole damn thing down, and they're telling you, and they are making it happen. And this is why one of the things that I'm going to really focus on over the next 9 or so months is making sure that the right, to whatever extent we can hold this wide tent MAGA thing together, we'll go ahead and do it. That the ex-libs will find common cause with the more traditional conservatives, and that you could have a party that would bring in, mushroom-eating Joe Rogan that would still be on the same side as, I don't know, somebody like evangelical Charlie Kirk, who unfortunately is no longer with us. That is the challenge for all of us. So this, I thought, was it's kind of depressing, to be totally honest with you, but Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, he put this up. What would Charlie Kirk have to say about this? And what would he think of his so-called friends who can't summon the courage to say it for him? And what he's showing you there is that Candace Owens this morning released a new documentary, or at least the trailer for this new documentary called Bride of Charlie. And in it, she is, if not outright saying, certainly putting innuendo that Erika Kirk, Charlie's wife, had something to do with the death of Charlie Kirk. She also, in the last couple of weeks, has called Erika Kirk a lesbian groomer. She has said the most absolutely psychotic things. And the only reason I'm even bringing this up, because I have no desire to talk about her, and I know that that's what she wants more than anything else, is that how are we going to keep this thing together as a certain portion of the right is going nuts? That is going to be the challenge. And there's another portion of the right. There is this sort of Groyper, far right, whatever these troll Nazi losers are. But somebody put this up, and I thought it was interesting, because they're constantly blackpilling and doom maxing everybody. 7 years ago, Nick Fuentes, who's obviously fairly big right now, was warning that World War III was about to happen because of Iran, right? And about a year ago, Tucker Carlson wrote this: "It's worth pointing out that a strike on the Iranian nuclear sites will almost certainly result in thousands of American deaths at bases throughout the Middle East and cost the U.S. tens of billions of dollars. The cost of future acts of terrorism on American soil may even be higher." You gotta keep those, Phoenix. Those aren't guesses. Those are the Pentagon's own estimates. A bombing campaign against Iran will set off a war, and it will be America's war. Don't let the propagandists lie to you. As we know, it was a 12-day war. America had nothing to do with 11 of those days, and then sent the B-2 bombers in to hit the Iranian nuclear sites. But the reason I'm mentioning this is there's a certain set of people, whether it's Candace now trying to tell you that Erika Kirk basically killed her husband, or the people that will blackpill you that America can no longer do anything. We can't fight wars. We can't fix anything anymore. Everything's depressing. They are the ones that are going to destroy the MAG movement. And then what will they lead to on the other side? Well, it's all the other shit that we talked about on today's show and that we always talk about. They will lead to the rise of the craziest leftist nonsense you can possibly imagine. And America's 250th year could basically be its last year. That's kind of where we're at. I, however, would prefer this.
The best part is for, like I was saying this, the day of the gold medal, it's for all the guys that have come before us, and, all the young kids that are going to come after us. So just like, when I was a kid, I was growing up dreaming of being where I'm at now. And in 10 years, there's going to be another Austin Matthews. There's going to be another Matthew Tkachuk and another Quinn Hughes. So that's why we play, and we want to, leave USA Hockey in a better place than it was when we first got there.
What was it like to get that phone call from the president?
It was super cool. It was an honor. It really is hearing from the president of the United States. Hearing that he was supporting us and all the other athletes, and wanting us all to bring home as many gold medals as we can. So we're definitely honored to represent him.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. Matthew Tatchik right there. Like, it's an honor. Who knows what I don't know what his political feelings are. I have no idea if he agrees with Trump on abortion or taxes or anything else or foreign policy or anything else, but it's a freaking honor when the president calls you. And you are in that uniform representing the United States of America. And there is an awful lot to celebrate. And it's not just the wins. It's not just the sporting wins in the Olympics. It's everything else that we have done for 250 years. So don't be one of the doom maxers and the black pillars, and relentlessly fight all of the bad forces. We mostly focus on the forces on the left, but there are some of them on the right, and it's worth addressing every now and again. And that is our program for today. We got a post-game show, 30 seconds at Rubin Report. .locals.com, and I think you'll probably enjoy our cold close. Adios.
No more thinking thoughts, shouting at council, schools, and courts. Welcome to Britain under the brand new caliphate. You're no longer free. Cover your face, your hair, your feet. You're now enslaved in a British caliphate. Don't you love the British caliphate?